Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm your host, Tanya Granic. Today, we turn to a growing political and economic story stirring across the country: renewed talk of Quebec separatism. Memories of the 1995 referendum, when the province narrowly voted to stay in Canada, are still seared in many of our minds. With the Parti Québécois surging in polls and openly discussing the possibility of another referendum, the ripple effects are already being felt. Investors are reacting, Quebec's long term bonds are under pressure, and some voices are even raising the prospect of Quebec adopting its own currency, adding yet another layer of economic uncertainty. At the same time, political turbulence is adding fuel to the debate. The Quebec Liberal Party, led by former federal minister Pablo Rodriguez, faces scandals and ethics investigations that have shaken public trust, while Bill C9, with Minister Marc Miller and the Bloc Québécois supporting the removal of the religious text exemption in this hate speech law, it has stirred cultural and identity tensions across the province. Well, to help us unpack what's driving this resurgence for separatism and what it could mean for Canadian unity, for Quebec's economy, and for families across the province, we're joined tonight by Richard Décarie, former Conservative leadership candidate, political strategist, and longtime advocate for a strengthened Quebec identity within a renewed Canada. Richard, great to have you with us. It's good to see you again.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, I hope I introduced you right. You are wanting unity in this country?
Yes, I've always been working towards that, but I think we are fighting many fronts, and mostly coming from Ottawa in many ways. And now we have a resurgence of that because we have a PQ government in coming. They are first in polls in Quebec, and they are saying exactly what Jacques Parizeau used to say before he was elected. In 12 months, we'll have a referendum. Whatever happens, we'll have it done anyways, you know.
And so, what are the people saying on the ground? Like, I'm sure there's been a plethora of polling. I'm sorry I don't have any at my fingertips right now. But are the majority of Quebecers in favor of separatism?
In fact, when you take the polls, it's always around 35 to 45% that are for the yes side. But when you get to the poll itself, in a referendum, we had almost 98% of participation. That's a lot. In an election, you never get close to that.
No.
So a referendum is more attractive for participation. That's where we get closer to the 50%. It's with the participation. The only way you can counter that is to have a major burst of immigration, and that's what the federal government has been doing for many years.
Right, because the newer immigrants, I would assume, do not want to be in a separate country. They wanted to immigrate to Canada, and Canada includes Quebec, not Quebec as a separate country. Does that make sense?
They don't understand the fight and
Right.
the reason, because they have been accepted by Canada. It's the Canadian government that receives them. And that was the Trudeau father's strategy since the 60s. So we are facing the same situation. But since then, we have a lot of other policies that are going against traditions and all that. So it's a different situation that we are facing
And
now.
we're going to dive into some of those policies in the next segment. But what do you feel is really driving, or what age group do you feel is driving this movement to separate? Did this just come out of nowhere, or this has been multi-year, in the last few years in the making? What is driving this new movement?
The difference is the leader of the PQ government is very young and very talented, very appreciated by the Quebecers, in the sense that he has been changing a bit the strategy that was used by René Lévesque in those days, or Jacques Parizeau later on. So the baby boomers are going away. So it's still the same results amongst the baby boomers, but with the younger generation, there's a new attraction for them. And you also have the impact of the internet. We are getting in Canada, English Canada is not different from French Canada, in the sense that the internet has been changing a lot of things. Most Quebecers are bilingual by the age of 20 because of the fact that they are all in on the internet since they were born, or almost, you know.
Right, right. So clearly, with the younger generation, and we've seen this even with the federal Conservative Party, that their numbers seem to be bolstered with the new voters, the young voters, that 18 to 35 demographic. And with a lot of political and like policy upheaval in Quebec for the last several years, I could see why, and with obviously the housing crisis, I could see why there's might be a drive. Anyhow, we're going to pick this up in just a moment.